Now, other than that, you should be able to do it, right? So tonight, all the parents sitting here, I'd like you to go home and watch, observe how your students do homework. I would say probably 90% of chance your students will do homework before even review the exercise, the examples. Okay, and that probably 9 out of 10 times. And the 10% students try to read that don't get it. Okay, they don't know how to read that. So is math hard? Depends on if you know how to read. If you know how to read mathematics, the math is super easy. So I always say that mathematics is a different language. It's just like you read an article, you got to know how to read that. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to show three examples why you got to know how to read that. And unfortunately, the teacher, the school teacher, they don't teach you how to read that. And they don't even encourage students to study that. Okay, and that, so you can see that. And one more phenomenon I observed is there are more and more schools that issue students a notebook computer and just go home and do the homework. And the homework was online. You do that, send it. The teacher don't have to grade your homework. And grading student homework is a very critical part, because that's the only time the teacher knows that his or her student gets stuck. And you want to know where you got stuck and why you got stuck. So be a teacher is like a medical doctor. You go to see a medical doctor, and the doctor never prescribe medication right away. What do? They ask you questions. Okay, do you have a fever? Okay, how long have you feel that way? So as a teacher, mathematics teacher, we do the same thing here. That's why when you send me a student, I ask you to bring to homework, your whole test. So that's the way I can really know where you got stuck. Okay, so I can teach you where you need it. So I'm going to show you how to read mathematics. Next one. Now, this is very, 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 very basic stuff here. And unfortunately, a lot of students get stuck. Absolute value. When you learn absolute value, probably in your pre-calculus, pre-algebra class. So by definition, is the distance between a number and zero. That's easier that way. All right, so that's definition. So I'm going to pose the questions. Can you go to the next one? All right, is this true statement? The absolute value of a real number is always positive. I've been asking this student to my students, and you're going to be surprised to hear that 8 out of 10 students make a mistake. They choose the true statement. What do they forget? They forgot zero is not positive. Am I right? Zero is not positive. So what's the absolute value of zero? Is zero positive? No. Is zero negative? No. So the true way to say that the absolute value of a real number can never be negative. All right? So the students got that idea, and when I show them next slide, they got confused. Okay, so which of the following is true? So the first one, the absolute x equal to x. Second one, absolute equal to negative. Wait a minute, he told me cannot be negative. Why is it negative x? Now, if someone asked me a question, I knew where the student had trouble with. So I'm going to show the next slide. Okay, the absolute value of a real number is always non-negative. How can you show me a negative number? Can you go to the next one, please? Okay, go to the next one. Okay, very, very classical type of problem, SAT 1 test. You were given P equal to negative Q, you jump to pick the statement, that's true. The first one says P is greater than Q. Why? Because you're assuming Q is negative. Negative Q is negative, right? You're assuming negative Q is negative. Second one, P is less than Q. The third one, P equal to Q. It turned out none of them is true. None of them is true. Because whoever designed this problem knew that student has something that was in their mind. When you see negative sign, it's a negative number. That's definitely not true, right? Can I have negative Q happen to be positive if Q is negative? That's the reason why absolute value of x can be negative x. Because we're telling you that x is a negative number. Let's look at the next one here. Okay, so the other one is this stuff here, right? So you're solving quadratic equation. Very straightforward. 10 out of 10 students know how to do that. They know how to factor it. So answer will be either 2 or 3. I'm going to have to do the same problem with extra piece of information. Okay, go to the next one, please. Now, you're given an extra piece of information. That's when you don't know how to read mathematics. You gotta know how to read the statement given to you. Absolute value of x minus 2 equal to 2 minus x. What is I'm trying to tell you? What is I'm trying to tell you? I'm telling you x is less than 2. You get it? If you don't know how to read that, you definitely gonna get stuck. And when you're gonna see this problem here, when you're taking algebra 2, your teacher decided to make your life miserable. They give this kind of problem on your test. Am I right? And you don't know how to read that x minus 2 equal to 2 minus, simply tells you, hey, you are working on a piece of information. X is less than 2. That's why this one is no solution, right? Because you start the equation, you got 2 and 3, but you forgot x is less than 2. That's why there's no solution. Okay, so you got to know how to read that. Again, if you don't know how to read math, math definitely will be hard. Next question, please. Go to the next one, please. Okay, now, next one. Now, the other one, the other area the student gets totally confused. Square root. That's square root. And so if you ask student, what's the square root of 4? Yeah, you can do it. Okay, and so I actually teach a class and I make up story to help my student understand why square root of 4 is 2, and why square root of x squared has to be a certain number. So let's go to the next screen first. This slide. Okay, so here, right? Can you see the square root of x to the second power equal to absolute over x? Okay, why? Now, square root of 4 equal to 2. Okay, so here's my story. My story goes this way here. Now, everyone sitting here, if you're working, you had a sharing income with Uncle Sam. What do we call it? Income tax. And I don't think anyone has good experience on filing tax return. He lost 2 to 3 weeks of sleep. And you send a check to Uncle Sam. I'm not happy. I don't think you're going to be happy. So the income tax system was so complex in this country. So my story goes this way. Assuming the income tax is square root income, okay, that can make it easy. That can a lot of people out of job. If I have CPA sitting in this room, I'm sorry, you're going out of job. If income tax is square root income, that's one particular person. His income was $1 million, and he refused to pay tax. So he was in trouble. Can you go back to the previous slide, please? So he was in trouble previously. Right, this one. So he was in trouble. So he was dragged into the courtroom, and the judge asked him, I don't make $1 million, I pay tax. All my associates in my courtroom pay tax, how come you don't pay tax? This guy happened to be good at mathematics. He said, your judge can ask you 3 questions. What's square root of 4? Why? Because 2 to the second power equal to 4, right? That's my second question. You want to ask him the third one. What's the second power negative 2? It's a 4. I'm going to follow your logic. Because 2 to the second power equal to 4, and square root of 4 equal to 2, and you also agree with me, negative 2 to the second power equal to 4. Why do you think I can argue square root of 4 equal to negative 2? That's why I don't pay tax. Now, a judge has to follow logic. So he said, well, you're right, so the judge let him go. But before this guy walked out of the courthouse, I heard the news. I dropped whatever I was doing, I rushed to government agency called IRS. I need my tax money. He do the same thing. Everyone do the same thing. Next morning when you wake up, the first thing you find out is what? Federal government, state government, and local government all went bankrupt. That's the reason we sit down and say, hey, if we want to find the square root, we need to have a positive root. Okay, so we can go to the next one now. That's the reason why you want to have absolute value of x, right? Because we don't know x is positive or negative. Look at the second question. What's the square root of x to the third power? No, too fast. Too fast. Okay, so what's square root of x to the third power? So your multiple choice, A or B. Answer is B. Why? Again, remember I told you that if you know how to read math, it's easy. Don't know how to read that, it's going to be tough. So that statement we're saying here, if you try to square root x to the third power, x to the third power got to be positive, or 0. That means x got to be positive, or 0. Since I know x is not going to negative, I don't need an absolute value sign. That's why answer is B. Okay, it's very easy if you know how to read it. It's going to be hard if you don't know how to read it. If you one of the students try to memorize, and you take an algebra 2, you're going to run into a lot of trouble when you try to handle this problem. Can you go to the next one? Okay, now this is another one, right? So when you take an algebra 2 or pre-calculus, one of the subjects you got to know how to solve a polynomial inequality. So you factor it and you perform sign testing. A positive negative sign testing will be anything that's greater than 7 or anything that's than -1. Okay, pretty straightforward. No one is going to have trouble. When are you going to have trouble? When you see the next one sheet. Okay, go to the next one. Again, you're given one extra piece of information. Okay, this time you were given square root x squared minus 16x plus 64 equal to x minus 8. And you were asked to solve the same inequality. So you carry out the operation and you end up with x minus 7 times x plus 1 is greater than 0. You say, hey, that's the one. I did that before, so I know the answer will be anywhere between, greater than 7 or less than -1. And guess what? You got your test back. You got point takeoff. You didn't answer it correctly. And you were scratching your head saying, what happened? Turned out you didn't read the statement. What the statement tells you? It tells you x plus 8, x minus 8 got to be greater or equal to 0. The x got to be greater or equal to 8. That's why you end up with a solution that's anything greater or equal to 8. Again, you got to know how to read it. All right, so it's different type of language. Okay, unlike English, unlike Spanish, unlike Chinese. You got to know how to read that. When do you learn how to read that? When you're taking algebra 2, you got to read your textbook. You got to read your textbook. Okay. Now the trend that I've been observing is there are more and more schools, especially all the private school and the public school in Palo Alto, they start issue students computer. And the private school they don't even use the real textbook. Everything was PDF. I hate it. Okay. Now because when you read your PDF on computer, guess what? You do not read your textbook. You do not read it because it's really, really inconvenient. You look at page number 1 and you will check something out, you have to get out of that and go to that. It's very, very inconvenient. It's very, very ineffective. It's very, very low productive. All right, it's very unproductive. So I hate this stuff here. So if you don't read that, you won't be able to catch that. Okay, so my advice to students, make sure you read your textbooks. Not only you read the textbook, a better way to do that is when you're reading a textbook, get this piece of pencil and paper, you copy all the examples. The only way you can register in your brain is when you actually do it. If you don't do it, it doesn't register in the mind, therefore you want to get it. So make sure that you do that. Next, I have one more example to show it to you, how to read it. Okay, can we go to the next one, please? Oops. Oh, your computer quizzes. Okay. All right, so next question we're talking about something in, okay, can we do that? All right, so the next question was a real test problem, SAT-2 test. Okay, and the problem is that, well, I'd like to evaluate sine of negative theta plus sine of positive theta, and cosine of negative theta, and cosine of negative theta. Now, a lot of students say, well, let me try to plug in the numbers. Okay, they will do guess and check. Now, if you do guess and check, guess what's going to happen? Next, please. If you try to do guess and check, on the right-hand column, see that you do guess and check. Can you do that? All right, so if I divide the plug in theta equal to 0 radian, you end up with 2. Okay, so you pick A. Now, someone said, no, I don't think theta could be 0. I'm going to plug in a different value. Okay, so you decide to plug in pi over 2. You got 0. Now, you don't know what to do. Okay, if you plug in 2 different numbers, you get 2 different answers. Okay? Now, this is actually very, very, very basic stuff here. If you try to plug in, you're going to be very unlucky, right? So you plug in theta, you got 2, you plug in theta equal to pi over 2, you got 0, you have 2 different answers. And that is actually a very basic piece of information You learn that in Algebra 2, probably you don't remember that, you learn that again in your pre-calc class, something called even function and odd function. All right, can we do that? That's even function, odd function. Now you definitely need to know that cosine is an even function. Sine is an odd function. As long as you know that, that problem is super easy. Can we look at the next one? All right, so the conclusion is math is super easy, as long as you know how to read it. Okay, now you want to know how to read it, make sure you read it. If you don't read that, there's no way you're going to read it, right? Make sure you read it, so make sure that you're going to encourage your students to read your textbook. Okay, read a textbook. Once you read a textbook, you're going to read, you know how to read it. And there are all little bit stuff here. You'll be sitting around here and there, you've got to know how to read it. So I'm just going to show you two different examples, the absolute value and the square root, and even odd function identity. My observation is you really want to discourage a student to memorize. Mathematics is not a subject you can memorize. You really want to understand. I want to spend some time on trigonometry. Trigonometry is a very hard, very difficult subject if you ask a student. It turns out trigonometry is very easy. It's not hard if you know the basic reason behind. Okay, and all the students sitting here already took the trick. You ask the student, I can guarantee that your teacher will make you memorize a big circle with 6 different angles. All right, and you memorize that. And if you go to school, one of the tests, and say, well, we're going to have a quiz today. So the teacher, give you that circle with 6 angles. You have 2 minutes to fill it out. That's bad practice. That's a very bad practice. And in trigonometry, that's actually, there are 2 special right triangles you need to master. 36 right triangle, 45 right triangle. As long as you handle that and plus something called reference angle, you can handle every single type of problem. So to my opinions, trick is super easy. Okay, make sure you know how to read it. And there's one parent has a question about pre-calc in Saratoga, right? It's about pre-calc in Saratoga?
Yeah.
I understand Saratoga High will spend a semester working on tree. And next semester we're going to work on pre-calc. So in order
to take after the whole
it will be after you complete Algebra 2, you get into a whole year called pre-calculus. But you actually spend this 4th semester working on tree. And the second level of pre-calculus. So it's kind of unique. Because all other schools, they will study Algebra 2 plus 3 together. I'm not saying that the way that pre-calc Saratoga is worse than the other one, because in a way you can look at that, the student spent an entire semester to study trick. They got a better chance to understand the material. Okay, but you got to put a student in the position, say you're not going to get a SAT 2 subject test, math subject, until you took pre-calc. And all hours of high school. All as high school student, you actually will try to take pre-calculus, Algebra 2, right after you finish Algebra 2 plus trig. And one of the issues is, when do you take your Algebra 2 and trig? Are you taking that in your sophomore year, or taking the junior year? If you did not take that until junior year, then you really don't want to wait until you finish pre-calc to take SAT 2 subject test. Okay, if you're a sophomore, yeah, you can wait until you took your pre-calculus. So it really depends on that. Therefore, one of subject, I believe Connie, you're going to mention that is, when you're going to take a particular class, okay, the arrangement, the planning is a key. It's very key. And she's going to cover when you should start. You started at sophomore year. Are you going to talk about that?
In January.
Okay, so she's going to talk about that. So if you have any questions, either I said you should hold your question, right? So we're running a bit late. I'll be around in the office. You can always catch me and talk to me. Thank you. Okay, sure.
Okay, so we're waiting for our next teacher, so let's have Mr. Peter Chang answer any questions that parents can have.
Okay, questions for me?
Yes.
Yes.
So to take the math subject, subject tests in Monte Vista, when might be the best time?
Okay, here's the question. If the student is sophomore and taking Algebra 2, I would say that you're gonna try to take that in May or June of your sophomore. Okay, by that time, you already finished the entire course.
That means you finish the algebra 2 and geometry, then you can take the subject test?
That's right.
Oh,
That's right. Here's what happened here, right? So in the subject test, 24% on function, 20% we tested on trig, and you're not going to learn trig in algebra 2, probably second semester. Okay, if you are junior, then you have no choice. You really have to take it. If sophomore, you may be able to wait until you junior. But I do have students. They both got 800. Took the first time as a subject test when they were sophomore. I do want to mention those two students, right? How they start. The way you start is really critical. I have two students. They are go for it. They go 2 boys, all right? So the first one took SAT 2, got 800. So the second one said, I gotta do it. I gotta do it, right? And the first boy, that's how he did it. He always sit on first one. And he would ask me a question. He never let me go until he got that, he understood that. Okay, that's the attitude. And the second boy even better. What he did is, he copied every single problem that he failed on the product step in a notebook. And he carried the notebook with him. Right, so we're talking about how do we do it so it can be effective. And those two boys, I remember that. I think the first one is working on computer science, PhD degree in Stanford. Did he get the PhD degree already? Yeah, so that, we were talking about that, what, 7-8 years ago? So whether your student will get entries really depends on his or her attitude. Okay, it's his or her attitude. Now, I can only help you with this much. I can help you teach you that. But if you do not want to do it, sorry, there's no way to do it. Any other questions? Yes.
Can you clarify the SAT 1 versus SAT 2 differences?
Very good question. Okay. SAT 1 is getting hard, unfortunately. Getting harder. So ever since March 2016, they come out with so-called, I call redesigned SAT. And now, the prior version of SAT really tested you way of thinking logically. Now the redesigned SAT is getting very close to SAT 2. Okay, why? Because, for instance, they never ask you about trig. Now they ask trig. For sure, the trig problem in SAT 1 is much easier than SAT 2. They're all basic stuff. They never asked you statistics before. Now they ask you statistics. Okay? They never ask you about modeling. What is modeling is a fancy term. It's actually finding the formulas. Okay? They never ask you that. Now they ask you that one. So SAT 1 is actually hard. So to a degree, you may want to consider to take your SAT 2 subject test first, and then take SAT 1, since you're preparing some kind of material. Right? So SAT 1 is getting harder than the previous version. Okay, any other questions? Yes?
So do you have to take both, 1 and 2?
This is a tricky part, right? You should talk to Dr. Yoshida. But my understanding is, UC said that the subject test is optional. I don't like the term called optional. Optional means what? You better take it. You better take it, otherwise, you're not going to be selected, right? Because all your counterpart took SAT 2. You're the one did not take it, sorry. They put your application aside. So when they say optional, it's actually worse. That means you need to take it. There's no choice, even though optional. All right, yes, so you have to post. Any other questions?
So should we encourage students to take Algebra 2 in 8th grade?
If you can do that, okay, if you can do that, but I think it's very hard, right? So you need to take, pretty much you need to take algebra in 6, geometry in 7, and then algebra 2 in 8th grade. Okay? All right, so I think Connie going to mention that in middle school, you want to be able to take, for instance, in terms of math, you don't want to wait until your freshman year to take algebra. If you do that, it's definitely too late. Okay? Now, if that happens to your student, what do? Do not forget your assignment. Okay, you can take your algebra, you can take a geometry in the summer, and then when you come to the school, you can take your geometry, then you're not behind. Okay, so it's really critical, really critical. You really want to think about how to plan your high school before you enter high school.
The problem is that the middle school,
Yes.
now advanced math student can get up to geometry in the
That's
8th
right.
year.
That's right.
You do not have the choice to pick algebra 2.
That's right. But if you can take geometry on the
Yeah.
S grade, you are okay.
But you will end up with the 9th grade, you need to take the algebra 2 and
No, that's perfect. If a ninth grade take algebra 2 and trig, it's okay.
Is it okay?
It's okay, because you don't, now here, the latest you want to take algebra 2 is on your sophomore year. If you're not taking it until your junior year, you will definitely do it. And I have a student, let me finish that, right? I have a student, he took algebra 2 in sophomore year, and he got scared. So he's a junior, he's not taking math analysis, so what are you gonna do? You are not gonna be able to take SAT 2 subject test. So this is the really worst case. So the reason I mentioned this one is that I told him, say, why don't you come to me early? Okay? Before you decide, make up your mind not to take pre-cal, come to me, I will explain to you, what you need to do. So it's extremely important you lay out a plan, okay, when to take what. Okay? If you don't do that, you're gonna find out you made a mistake when it was too late for you to fix it. Okay, what's the question?
Yeah, can you clarify what is the SAT 2 subject for the math cover?
Okay, here. All right, so, Jerry mentioned about vector, matrix, and polar. It actually doesn't tell you that.
Yeah, but you also mentioned like a
Yeah, pre-calculus. Why do we say that? Is because you learn your function the first time in algebra 1, and the second time in algebra 2. In algebra 2, we have linear function, quadratic function, rational function, and trig function. And you run into a reverse first time, you don't really have a very good understanding. So it's better that you take your pre-calculus, you run through the same subject second time. That's why you say you want to wait until you finish algebra pre-calculus. But that is under an assumption that you took that in your junior year, right? If you take the pre-cal, don't take the pre-cal. Until your senior year, you're definitely too late. So you don't want to wait until you finish pre-cal. So you need to look up when you take it, okay? The ideal case is, the best case is you have your algebra 2 at your freshman year, and pre-cal in your sophomore year, okay? If you have if a kid is still in middle school, make sure that is what will happen. That's the reason why I've been talking to those parents saying, you need to prepare your student when he or she is in middle school. Wait until high school probably can be a little bit late. Any other questions? Okay, so Sonny, it's okay, so you want to have the next speaker coming up?
We'll have Connie speak a little bit first.
Okay, sure.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shane.